You out there, thank you for joining us. Us is me and Captain Temba Bavuma. I've wanted to speak to this guy for the longest time. He's been evading me. I lie. I lie. No, you wouldn't do that, right? No.
Not at all, not at all.
Not at all. He's got a busy schedule. Mine not so busy. And everything happens for a reason. In its own time, right? Temba, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it, by the way. How are you?
Good, Pommie. Well rested. Got into the new year quite nicely. Back at training. Back on the golf course as well. But yeah, all is good. Family as well. Not much from a cricketing front, but all is good.
Okay. Trying to get my chair to stop swinging, but never mind. We'll kind of get there. Cricket. When I say cricket, what happens in your head? Is it all you think about, or no?
No, I mean, if you had asked me that maybe 5 years ago, I'd say so. Now things are a little bit different. Family is obviously has become a big feature in my life. Yeah, I think it's given me a different kind of a purpose towards life. I mean, cricket is still important. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't become the be and end all. So yeah, like I said, if you asked me 5-10 years ago, cricket would be everything, but now, not so much.
Okay. I want to give a proper introduction. This is South Africa's World Test Championship winning captain. Look. He's smiling. I like when people smile. Let's get that bottle out the way, actually.
The bottle.
Is that, yeah, it spoils the shot.
Sorry.
Yeah, we need to get the bottle out the way. But that's big. It's huge, actually. And I wondered at the time, so when we were at Lords, I wondered if you understood the magnitude. Do you?
At the time, no. And I think for me, it feels kind of similar to when I scored my debut Test 100 at Newlands, where, I mean, for me it was a young cricketer. I get a chance to play for South Africa. You've always wanted to do this. This is what you work towards. You're international cricketer, and then you want to know that you belong. How do you know that you belong? You want to get your first 100 out the way. I think about it here from the championship point of view. Maybe not as childish as that, but I think only afterwards, where I think the one thing for me that sticks in my mind, when we were at the airport coming from the UK, there were two elderly people, elderly woman and an elderly man, and both of them in the lounge. As I was walking in, old man came in. He had tears coming down his face, and I mean, he could hardly get a word out, but from what he said, he was like, "Thank you. You don't know what this means. What this means for us." Same thing with the elderly woman as well, in South Africa, and I mean, these are white people, and for me, it's like you see yourself as Temba, and you are told that you are a beacon of hope for your people.
Yes.
And with that still being right, but now you see how that achievement, it's really cut through, those lines, those demographic or racial lines. I mean, you really have everyone just celebrating in this moment for what it is, for us being champions, something that it's eluded us for the longest of time, So I think now I'm a little bit older in terms of understanding a little bit more, but a little bit is like, when people speak about it, people ask me that question, it's like, oh, this sounds very much similar like in 2016, with the debut 100 and what it meant. I was in Cape Town now for the last month, and normally when I'm in Cape Town back home in Langa, people know me, they know I play cricket and all of that. So the interaction is very bland, because it's like we know Temba. Temba, he grew
From
up
this
here,
high.
yeah, still still that high. But now you go there, you are world champion. Now it's like it's different, the way people interact to you, the way people welcome you. December is a big lot of traditional ceremonies that happen there. So you attend these ceremonies and people are treating you like you're this king. You're like, no, you come sit here, over here. So that, you start to realize that, geez, okay, what you actually did was, it's bigger than just, 11 guys or 15 guys who had this dream of bringing back this trophy. And I guess, as time goes, maybe the wiser I get, I'll be able to articulate it a bit bigger. But it is big. It's big in a lot of ways.
Okay. And as an achievement, and I don't want you to just think cricket. That's why I say as an achievement rather than as a cricket achievement. And where do you place it in terms of the things that you might have set out to do as a boy, and then as a young man, and then as a kind of growing man, and then there's this. It turns up, you become captain of South Africa, and then play all these test matches, the ones you play and you don't lose as captain, which is something in itself. 11 victories and a draw as we stand, right? Like that's, nobody can say that, right? So where does it all kind of stand and sit, or has the time to evaluate or take that in not come as yet?
The achievement in itself, that's definitely up there. I think the success for me as a captain, for us as a team, has come quite quickly. I always set the view of a 4-year view, and to see where, as a captain and from a team point of view, where we can be. Realistically, did I ever think we'd win the championship? Didn't have 100% conviction, but the ambition, the goal, we worked towards that. I worked towards that, but definitely up there in terms of what I've achieved. What could be better than that? We have the 50 over World Cup next year. Still have to make the team, but I think being a part of that, leading the team into a final on home ground, that will definitely be up there. And I think captaincy for me, I never had aspirations of being captain growing up. It wasn't something that you could really dream of,
Explain. You say not something you could dream of. Is that to say? Is that to speak about not having? Is it about not having ability or not having the opportunity?
There weren't idols. There weren't idols that we could look up to, and I'm speaking here within South Africa, look up to idols, be like, okay, that guy is there, he looks like me, similar type of background. I want to be like him. Growing up, just from a pure cricketing point of view, I grew up in a cricketing family. My uncles would always be speaking about the West Indies. So that's what we grew up knowing, the West Indies. And the older I got, guys like Brian Lara, maybe a little bit before him, Carl Hooper, those are the guys that, those are the names that were thrown around within the home. So Sachin Tendulkar. So that's what I knew from a young kid. And obviously, the older I get, your mind opens up. You have the opportunity to choose your own idols. That never really changed. It was always Sachin, Laura. But that's what I mean in terms of that dream it was never planted by something, you know. And I think the whole captaincy thing for me came about 28, 29, at a time where being part of the team, you could see that we were getting towards a transitionary period with the senior guys at that time were starting to exit.
So you tell me who you're talking about.
So that time, Hashim, AB, Moko, Faf, JP, you know, Dale. You could see the transition, and the question around the changing room was like, who's gonna step up from a leadership point of view? And I guess I also opportunistically, you look around the team, you're like, okay, there are candidates, but I feel like I can put my hand up to be someone to be considered. And I think also strategically, maybe not so much strategically, but I looked at my career up until that point, 28, 29. I'd played about 4 or 5 years of international cricket. As a kid, I had all these crazy goals. You know, I wanted to be like Tendulkar, 10,000 test runs and all of that. 4 to 5 years in, kind of realized I'd probably have to play till 50 to be able to do that. But I thought if I'm going to make a mark within South African cricket, I saw an opportunity within the leadership space. And there I started thinking more about leadership. I remember you asked me this question early on in my captaincy, do I read books? I don't read books. All of that.
You still don't?
No, I don't read books.
How do you get information then?
You use your intuition. I think intuition is a big thing. Speaking to people, I prefer more of that. Tapping into leaders outside of just the cricketing space.
Yes.
You know, because I think they bring just a different dynamic, more of a non-emotional view to how you build a team, to how you go towards achieving a goal.
Right.
So yeah, when I made that mindset shift that I'd want to be considered, and then kind of started working towards, had the opportunity at the Lions, 2018, 2019, to captain the team, and we did that with success.
Yeah.
And then from there, vice captain with the Proteas, and yeah, then the opportunity came years later. But captaincy was never a real ambition of mine.
Okay. I find it interesting that you name, and we might kind of be digressing a little bit, but nothing is kind of off limits. Mine is for obviously me to understand, because I'm curious, but you might be curious as well at home, wherever you watch this from. But to find out about the journey and kind of the development of stuff. And sometimes I kind of want you to develop thoughts that you have. And you kind of go back to your home being a cricket home, as in your uncles and your dad, I suppose, as well, speaking about the game and speaking about the West Indies, and you further going to India, and you've picked quite good ones in Sachin, Brian Lara. In an era, those were the two who were right at the top. And I might even say that Carl Hooper he kind of straddles the era before and that one, because he's there. But all of them captained their countries, and yet you don't see them as that. So it's stark to me. Like when you were talking about captaincy, and you talk about these three batters, fantastic to watch in terms of style, all very different. Easy Carl Hooper, like anyone would want to watch Carl Hooper bat. Anyone would want to watch Brian Lara bat, different, left-hander. Everyone would like to watch Sachin, and everyone knows, right? You were even called Sachin, right? Because of the obsession, because of obvious youngster. But why do you only see them as batters, or do you?
I think for growing up, I saw them as batters. And I think in terms of what they've achieved, speak more specifically to a Lara and a Tendulkar, you probably speak more about the runs that they've scored versus them as leaders. A lot of their success has come from that point of view. And like I said, that's what I knew. That's what I knew. It was all about batting, Tenduka, a good technique, efficiency, in terms of your foot movement, balance, all those type of things. And Laura, I won't say I modeled any of my game. I'm definitely not a flamboyant type of guy, but he was just entertaining to watch, the way he went about tearing attacks apart. But it was always the batting part. Carl Hooper, a little bit before. I think at that time I was more for my uncles. They understood it.
They liked him more,
They
and
understood
that's
it
who they
better.
spoke about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for me, he wasn't really a part of that inspirational route. But yeah, captaincy. I mean, the fact that I'm the first Black African to be a captain, I think that also speaks to the fact that you never saw people like your own doing it. And I think that's a big thing, I know, like in South Africa, we always talk about Black African batters, and that whole transformation agenda behind it all. And I think things will get better in the years to come, in that the youngsters now, your 15, 16-year-olds, they are seeing people that look like them, who have similarities in terms of the background. They can really aspire to push to get to those roles, not just from a batting point of view, but from a leadership point of view. Yeah.
I suppose much like, and when people talk about transformation, and I want us to kind of, maybe it kind of segues nicely into society and life in general. And there was a time, where in trying to speak about, this guy's the first Black captain or Black batter or whatever, some would say, why do you have to mention that? And that essentially would be those who've never had to worry about it, right? Those it's meant nothing to. But what you've just articulated now about examples and people who are kind of your models and idols, that you can kind of aspire to is particularly important. Let's throw in the whole political, socio-political transformation, South Africa and its history, and what it means to you, or if there is a point at which you recognize that whilst I think I'm not affected as a young fella growing up, and I might think about it a certain way, I am grown, and actually there's a whole lot that goes before me and what must come after. How you kind of balance all of that and what you think about it, or with leadership thrust upon you. And initially I thought it was thrust, but he's told us somewhere along the line, you kind of think, I have aspirations, even though I began without them.
I think, try to find a way to answer it. For me, it was always about, I'm a young guy, I have this passion towards cricket. Yes, I'm a Black dude, but I have a passion towards cricket, and I want to be as good as I can. And I carried that throughout my school career, throughout university, got to first class cricket here at the Lions. I carried that same mindset, naive, I'd like to think of it. Came to South Africa, made my debut. I came in with that same mindset. Played a couple of games, that got tested very quickly. Scored my debut Test 100 at Newlands. Then I started understanding the history behind it all, and the significance behind that achievement, the significance behind my presence in the team, and I guess all the efforts and sacrifice that went in before to allow a moment like that to come to life. And I guess me being there as the first in a lot of ways, there's people who will give you the benefit of the doubt, but then there will be the people who are, it's almost like seeing is believing. They want to see this thing come to life before they get on the right side of it, before they give it the credit that it deserves. Where I guess if you're a white individual, if you're a white batter, and you get into the Proteas team, it's almost accepted. That guy, he must be good enough. Because there were a lot of guys like him before who were good enough. Now you come in as a black dude, as a batter, not a bowler. You come in as a batter, it's like, okay, but surely there should be other guys there. Now you come in as a captain, you come in as a captain, that just changes that dynamic. So I feel like a lot of it is the belief comes from seeing it. And I mean, we spoke about the achievement at Lords. That hasn't been seen, but it's been done by a team that has been led by a well-transformed coaching staff. I think whatever issues that are there, racial issues, whatever prejudices that are there, I think we've gone a long way in eradicating all of that. And I think we've gone a long way in shifting that mindset and really getting us to a point where whatever team that is put on paper in the Proteas team, we believe that that is the best team. Whether that team has 6 black dudes, whether that team has 2 black dudes, but our belief is that from a political point of view, that the best team is been put on the field, and we move away from the fact that if the team doesn't perform accordingly, we want to blame, oh no, it's because of certain targets that we have to reach. So, and maybe I'm being very dreamy about it all, but I'd like to believe that we've gotten a lot more closer to really seeing the game in its true essence. Transformation, I mean, it will always be a thorny issue. And I mean, I think for me, it's always understanding the premise of it, understanding the history of what happened, why did transformation and all these other affirmative actions and these systems, why all of them have been put in place, And once you start understanding that, then I feel it allows you to get into a space to be able to accept transformation. That's not to say transformation should be set in stone, this is the rules, you need a certain number of black dudes in the team and that's how you go. No. I think like anything, you always have to continually keep working at it. And transformation in sport, in cricket, let me speak about cricket, I think there is that space where we can keep working on it, keep strengthening systems outside of the Proteas, because I guess Proteas, that's more the optics of it. That's where we get to see the team plays in the World Cup. We want to see the brothers, and we want to see that diversity. But below that, there's a lot more intentional and specific work that I think we can do a lot more. So, yeah, I mean, what is the end goal of transformation? I guess that's probably something we probably need to understand a little bit more. What is the end goal?
Do you have an idea on that?
I don't believe it's a case of seeing a Proteas team having 9 black dudes. I don't think it's that.
Do you understand that fear? And let's not even just
if it happens, let it happen organically. That would be my thing. So how would it happen organically? Well, you got to give those guys the opportunity, the resources, the same that. So like for me, when I was young, growing up in Langa, I got the opportunity to go to a Saks, I got the opportunity to go to a St. David's. From a cricketing, from an infrastructure point of view, from an educational point of view, from a general ethos point of view, that's what I benefited from. Those are the opportunities, that's the privilege that I had. And if you want to grow cricket in a Soweto and an Alexandra just here neighboring us, then you got to make sure that that system there has those same type of opportunities. where those individuals, they come out holistically empowered. You know, so for me, that would be the end goal of transformation, where you have a pool of these guys who have been exposed to these opportunities and resources, and organically, I feel like it will happen. That you have a lot more of these faces. While we're still getting there, that's where transformation, I feel, is playing that part.
Yeah, I was in East Xhosa Coventry.
They speak deep Xhosa there, those boys.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, not me. I'm not even closer, okay? And I'm sitting there with Pongolo, Sochelelwa, Ndini. Maka has been speaking closer to me since we were little. So
Yeah.
from the time I met him, he just, "Wait, what kind of black dude are you? You don't understand me?" And he'd be saying this in his closer, you know? And I'd be like, "Look, I get this guy's language, but what is it? Because I don't understand." You know, like I speak Isindebele from Zimbabwe, you know?
Yeah.
And it's similar, it's like Zulu, but he'd have these words. So when you say deep Xhosa, they speak deep Xhosa. It's just like, yeah. Anyhow, I kind of put forward a notion to them, but I say them because I was on kind of their platform and speaking on a platform where cricket is in East Xhosa, right? And I was saying that cricket doesn't have a language. And I think it's something that I try to advance, actually, like a lot, because it's similar, I suppose similar to you, because of upbringing and where you go and learn cricket, where you might find cricket, there is a language of it there, right? So for you, at Langa when you're little, and then shifting from there to sax, give me and them some sort of understanding. And how early was that? So we're going right to the beginning. So you learned the game, you spoke about your uncles, but then you go from there to sax and to St. David's. And for those who might wonder about that, this is, I'll call it, and I can't really call it mainstream schooling. I'll call it cricketing mainstream schooling, and understanding from a context that cricket essentially supposedly was a white sport, right? So you're going from your neighborhood, which is Langa, which is a black neighborhood, which as you look around, it's just all your people and nobody else. And then you go to sax, and that's, you're now kind of the odd one out rather than just one of the many, right? And you then develop from there. But the reason for going there is to develop the game. And you might end up kind of thinking, well, the game is in English, sort of thing. So speak a bit about that and kind of getting through that and getting to the top, which is where you are now.
I think what helped me a lot, Pommie, is that, so my parents were learned individuals.
Father's a journalist, right?
Father was a journalist. Mom was into energy space.
Right.
So they were learned. So as much as, I was young and there was this whole passion towards sport, cricket being one of them, there was the educational importance of it. And my dad, as a journalist, he'd give me a newspaper and he'd read it to you in English. Right. So I grew up at that. By the time I got to a sax I joined grade 4, so I think I was about 10 years old. I had some sort of proficiency when it came to English, and which you can imagine it as a 10-year-old, it gives you a level of confidence. Like if when I was still in Langa, we play a cricket game, maybe we play against a white school. The guys would like, "Hey Temba, you go forward, you go speak, because you're the one that can speak English, Right. You can understand them." So I think from a confidence point of view, that helped me, that I was able to communicate with my peers. obviously it was a change in environment, different culture. You know, you have to be on time. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? We have to be on time.
We're
also?
never on time. we have to be on time, but we're never on time. You have to dress accordingly. Your socks must be up. Your shirt must be tucked in. You know, you come into a certain way of doing things. You know, the way you greet the teachers, hello ma'am, hello sir. You know, all of those things were not that you don't greet your elders back in Langa, but it's just done
different.
a certain thing. And when I went to Sax, it was kind of known that, okay, this is Temba. He's the cricket guy, you know. He's the cricket guy. Watch out for him, you know. He's the cricket guy. So you come in with a little bit of that craze, but it also makes it easier for you to socialize with the guys, because you're with them on the sporting field. From the sporting field, that goes to the classroom. It makes it easier in terms of making that transition. Where it was tricky was the actual work. Subjects like science, biology, those were hard, because there you actually need a proper understanding of English. But I mean, as time, that kind of got easier. But yeah, as much as I played sport, education was always a big focus. Even when I finished, when I matriculated, went to university, got my finance degree, which is something that I hold quite proudly. And it's quite rare within our space, where at least the guys who are at international level, where you are playing at that level, and you have a qualification and you have a qualification.
From uni, yeah. I suppose many, certainly as you go backwards, if you kind of make it quite young, you forego the education part to pick up later, like some. Others don't ever manage to pick it up again, but you kind of have to pour all your time. I think these days there's an opportunity to be to play and to also study. There's online. The internet's the greatest ever invention. It's unbelievable, actually. It just connects the world and connects everything, right? So you kind of can do that. I guess, and I don't know if the question is kind of directed at you being the wrong person, but the example I would give, I suppose, is that we're going to other countries. So let's go with England, because you guys call Langa Lords and whatever, and because we're talking about Lords as well, right? Like, if we go to England, generally, because it's England and they speak English, you play cricket in English. You know, everything is in English, just generally. I mean, now it's a bit different now. Wherever you go, there's kind of the whole immigration story, and everyone kind of borders. You go where you kind of can make it, and you try and make a life there, but you don't leave your other self. Wherever you can bring yourself along, and there's nothing wrong with that. But generally, cricket will be in English there. It has its own issue in that, if you're going to play for England, Englishness, blah, 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 it's a whole other subject. But go to Australia, you'll have the same sort of thing. We might even go to the West Indies. And I know the West Indies are mainly a collection of islands, but English will kind of mainly be it, even if there's like some pidgin this and pidgin that, there's an understanding. And they're very different, and I'm not saying it's kind of a homogenous thing, but they're very different. But there's this, India has many different languages, and in many different places, there's also other kind of socio-political things but they'll play the game in their language. And broadcast, which I'm in and have been in for the longest time now, I've watched over in India as things have changed with regard to there is a world feed and it is in English, but there is customized broadcast that is in Hindi, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil. And there's so many languages, which is to say there is a catering to whoever all across India. And it can only serve India well because as a Tamil fellow from Chennai and surrounds, you play the game in that language and you don't feel out of place. Chennai itself is, Tamil Nadu itself is so big. You play there, and if you kind of come through there, then you get through to wherever. And as you go, even, and I don't know if this is true for sure, but even sort of going, speaking Tamil all the time, you might kind of learn Hindi as well. Certainly when you get to the national side, you'll have people who speak their language wherever and Hindi. And it's more okay because you kind of all look similar. I say similar, I don't really know the intricacies of, because you know what I mean, like if they're there, they probably can tell the differences between each other. But we're looking from the outside and that's it. Whereas here, it's that stark. So if you play cricket in Alexandria, here in Johannesburg, and it is in isiZulu or Sotho and whatever, and you kind of, and then you have to go and play, like you were talking about, you have to go and play against, I don't know, Wanderers, right? You're right next to each other. When you come to play against Wanderers, everyone's speaking in English. And you feel like you should play the game in English, not in isiZulu or Sotho and whatever. And so that's kind of the tussle, I think, that goes on and must be sorted out for everyone. And so do you think about anything like that as captain? Does it ever kind of figure in your mind as captain as you try to kind of navigate all of this?
When you said before we started, things happen for a reason. I had a chat with my mentor 3 days ago.
Can I ask you your mentor is?
His name is Bahle.
Bahle.
Bahle, yeah, Bahle Sibisi.
Sibisi, what does he do?
Bahle, I actually don't know what he does now. I think he's retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is he your mentor?
It's more from a leadership space, but also life after cricket, and how what I do now can, I guess, set myself up for life after cricket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, go on the night.
So the conversation we had was around that, around the medium of English. And I mean, there was nothing conclusive about it, but we were just, throwing our views. And I said to him, I said, for me, Xhosa commentary is tricky because I think cricket in English terms, and just Xhosa in itself, the last thing you want to be doing is transferring English into Xhosa. Like, it just doesn't work.
Astoligwa.
Exactly.
That means you don't translate, or you don't translate. You can't translate it. Yeah.
So and because cricket, I've learned that way. I've learned it through English, and like if I go to Langa or you go to maybe the township where they're speaking in vernac, for me, if maybe I'm helping a youngster with a technical aspect in their batting, it's very hard. It's very hard to articulate that as well as I can in English and in Xhosa. And I don't think, and I don't know how many coaches out there are able to do that in your township, where maybe you wanna tell a youngster, how do you play the ball spinning out the rough. For me, in Xhosa, I don't feel like I can do that. And I'm not saying because I can't.
And it's your language. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that just because I can't, there's other guys out there who can't. But those other guys haven't played in India, where it's, there's rough on both sides. So their insight will be limited up until a certain point. And I mean, even in the changing room here at the Lions, the Proteas, English is what we use. Okay, you'll get your Marco Jansen, he'll speak his Afrikaans. I've been forced to improve my Afrikaans, but it's actually quite fun. It's actually quite fun to improve my Afrikaans and its vocabulary. But cricket is in English, but we're trying to make it accessible to the masses, where English is there, but that's not what they use to learn.
Right.
So I mean, this is a conversation that we had. He used India as an example, and India, they play in their own language, Hindi, and all of
correct.
that. And maybe there is a point, but they grow up with that. You know, it's if you're speaking Hindi,
the cricket is already in that language. Yeah, I see.
They grow up in that. The tactics in the team are in Hindi. Whereas with us, so I'm growing up. I'm in Cape Town. The Kulang is Xhosa. I'm speaking Xhosa, and then it's English. Then back home is Xhosa. So you always kind of bouncing between that. So I think there's something to that. But I think also that's where, Pommie, like I was saying, the educational aspect of it comes into play. And I think there's a thing to the fact that if you look at the black dudes who've gone on to represent the country and have shown longevity, it's mostly guys who've gone to your private schooling, if not all of them. Yeah. I mean, if you can go
all of them.
Yeah, all mainstream, right? It's mainly that. So there has to be something to it, The education side, I think education does a lot of things.
Yeah, I must say this: education is not English. We've got to say that as we kind of depart the subject. It's one, like you said just before, that we probably don't arrive at a solution with. But I really was probing just because I wondered if it's in your mind at all, or if it's a bother, or if you come across it. And of course you have, because you speak about it. Well, I want to move you to white ball. So 1,000, 2,000, quite quickly. I think to 1,000. I think you joined fastest, if I'm not wrong. You and Quinny, right?
The 50 over. Hash would be up there, I think.
Hash, yeah. So
I'm not good when it comes to
stats
and
or records. Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
Quinny, you, Hash, and do you remember when you started? Do you remember like your
white ball cricket?
Yeah.
Made my debut here in Benoni.
At that lovely ground in Benoni.
At Benoni against Ireland.
Yeah, and you got 100, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think who supposedly rested, because I remember at the time. Was it Hash who rested?
Hash's wife was giving birth. Yeah.
Okay.
I think their second child. Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole white ball? I mean, you obviously, you're pretty good at it. You still are. You kind of, every time you play, to us as we watch, we're like, gee, but then apart from the injuries, we're going, gee, this guy, what do you feel about it all? Because there is a kind of world gaze, South African gaze, but world gaze, and then this judgment, right? How does it all like sit with you?
I enjoy white ball cricket, 50 over T20 cricket. I have a lot of ambitions when it comes to white ball cricket. I haven't been overt or at least vocal about it, but I definitely have ambitions around it. And if I didn't have those ambitions, then I probably wouldn't care to be involved in white ball cricket. I mean, if you look at where every time you listen to T20 commentary, it's always the modern game this, the modern game that. That's almost like the buzzword. But I think if you use that, and if you look at my style of play, they probably don't marry. Where now it's sixes and fours, and that's where the entertainment is.
Seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, batting is about the art of hitting sixes. And you can see how that flows in Test cricket. But that's another conversation. So I think from my side, I remember having this conversation with Shukri. I'm like, I feel like I'll always kind of have this spotlight on me, in white ball cricket, because I don't play a certain way. And I mean, there's always, I mean, for every player, there's always scope for you to get better, and you want to keep up with the times. But there'll always be that scope. There'll always be, you know, that on me. I think for me, what gives me comfort is that, look, I'm very comfortable in myself and how I am doing things. I want to be as best as I can be. Yes, I'll improve, tinker there and there, but I want to be as best as I can improve. And if the performances that I'm putting in now speak to that, then I'm comfortable with that, Pommie. The fact that maybe I'm not playing in T20 cricket or whatever opportunities that come about in that space, I'm very comfortable with that. And I think from the beginning of my career, I've never taken narratives that are created out there about myself. I think I'm arrogant in a way that I kind of stick to what's in my head. Not in a negative way, but I kind of stick to what is in my head and what it is that I would like to appreciate. So yeah, I think 50 over probably have better stats than Test cricket, which is what I'm known for.
I'll give you your stats.
But yeah, I think the enjoyment is still there in all the formats. In all the formats.
I'll give you your stats. 66 test matches, 172 highest score, 400s, and that's for all of them that still think you've got one. You know they're there, right? Like, you know they're like they're going, and they got the 100. They exist, those people. 26 50s.
That's a lot of 50s.
There's a lot of 50s. Yeah. And some, I must say, stick out in my head. I suppose because I'm kind of watching all the time and whatever. But they stick out because of significance, right? Like tough runs and all of that, which I don't just say that lightly. I say it because it's factual. That's what happened. And an average of 38.1, which has gone up because there was a time it was sort of 30, wasn't it? It was around there.
Young, yeah, mid, yeah.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, 30s,
It was 30. We were like, oh, no, hold on. There's, like, cricket has a standard. International cricket has a standard. You're from South Africa. Yes, you're a batter. Not a black batter, you're just a batter. And there are standards. You kind of got to lift it, buddy. And then it's just through the roof. Because if you just take second half of your career, it's like, what? You know, how's right now, no question, comfortably best batter in the side that you captain, you know, for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years. Anyway, ODI stats, 53 ODIs, highest score of 144, average 42.39, 500s and 850s. Yeah, the T20s, not so much, 150 in that, and an average, I didn't put an average, I put a strike rate, just under 120. What do you think of the stats? You're not a stats man?
I think stats are, I'm not a stats man. Always, I guess, being under that illusion, it's team first.
Right.
But I guess the older you get, you know, you realize that that's good, you know, but you also need to make sure that you're also looking good, you know. I think, like, if I think about it from a Test cricket point of view, always wanted to be known as that guy in the tough situations. You stand up for the team. And I think that just speaks to my character. ODI cricket dropped quite a bit.
You've been injured a lot. You've kind of been in and out.
That hasn't helped. Yeah, that hasn't helped. Look, I think I'm a bit better now. I've changed my training a bit better.
You're all good?
I'm a bit better, yeah.
Oh,
I'm a bit better.
You're not filling me with confidence. When I
No,
say you're
I'm
all
good.
good, you
I'm
say,
good.
oh, I'm a bit better.
No, I'm good. T20 cricket, yeah, modest T20 cricket. I mean, that's still a space where, for me, it's almost like it's, I still want to get back into it to conquer it. And I mean, conquer it will look differently for me than for someone else. But that's still a space that I'd like to get back into. I think for now, the focus of the test and the ODI, I think it works for me, especially with the load of captain. Even from a physical point of view, like we're speaking, to play all three formats. I think, as we're saying, it's challenging for all the players. I don't know whether it's a batter's thing, but I think even the bowlers, in terms of them, being able to play at full intensity. I mean, as the Proteas, we've struggled with injuries in that department. I think from a batting point of view, and I think it shows a lot in the youngsters who are coming into the team, where there's a great deal of talent that you see the guys, but you can also kind of see that this guy is he's wrestling between, from a technical point of view, but also a mental point of view, between Test cricket and T20 cricket. Where guys are playing, let's just say they're playing Test cricket for the national team. The last Test cricket we played was India. And then from now until, I think next year, September, that's when we play Test cricket again. It's just T20 cricket. So how is a guy realistically, a young batter, how is he, young or old, how are they realistically meant to get better if for 10 months they're just playing T20 cricket, So I think that's part of the modern game. I think that's just the challenge that all of us have to deal with. So I think for me, in a way, it kind of works in your favor that, okay, you're in these two boxes. You have that leadership responsibility. There's consistency from a team point of view, which I think helps, which I think is massive from a leadership point of view. The time that I decide, or the powers that be decide that, we'd like someone else to come in as a leader, I think it's when I can maybe start, tinkering, trying to get my backlift higher, all those type of things.
Love it. Yeah. Why are you so calm? Is there a reason? Do you feel like if I described you as a calm fellow, would you say yes, that's correct?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
So why are you that calm? What allows you to, it seems even in tough situations, take you back to, and I don't know, you might want to tell, let me ask you this first, and then I'll take you back to where it struck me. And it has many a time, but why do you believe you are, and what tough situations have you faced where you've kind of intentionally drawn on it, if that's what you do?
Yeah, I think it's just who I am. It's not something that I'm intentional about, so I don't necessarily have to think about it. I try to see things as they are, Try to put aside the emotion to what is happening, because I think that clouds your judgment. You don't really see things as they are. That's obviously a tough thing because we're human. We're built on emotions. But for me, it's to just try to see things, to take on life's challenges as they come. Accept that. Shit happens in life. But your responsibility is to react to that, is to adjust to that, is to adapt to it. And I think that's where, for me, what mental resilience or mental toughness is, your ability to adapt to what is in front of you. We all create, these lovely fantasies in our heads that, at 30 this is where I should be, and at 35. But I mean, life is not listening to that. It does what it wants to do. And just an acceptance of who I am, where I am in life. I know what my priorities or what are important to me. I think it's probably more of a spiritual approach to life, I would say, just listening to myself speak, but it's definitely not something that I try to put on. I think also like your upbringing as well, Pommie, like where you've seen things, you know.
What does that mean? When you say you've seen things?
Life, like I mean, if I could think of maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, you've witnessed situations where there's a mob, and the mob has dealt with a thief, dealt with a robber, in a pretty barbaric way, you know. And I mean, those aren't things that you see here in cricket, but it's almost like just things you've seen how bad things could be, you know. And I think that, in a way, kind of conditions you in a way. Going to school, being the smallest guy, you know, you're prone to bullying, you know, and you, without knowing, you find ways of dealing with people who are, you know, kind of having a go at you. One of the toughest periods of my schooling was my grade 12. So I finished grade 12, St. David's, a year before, so I was 16.
Why?
I think I just started school early.
All right.
Yeah. Then the next year there was opportunity to do post-matric. And I wanted to do the post-matric because it would have given me another year of school cricket, a proper shot of SA under 19, Gauteng under 19 and all of that. My dad wasn't for it, but ended up doing that year. And the first 3 months were hell, the first 3 months. So I'm in class, guys who are the same age as me, but there's this thing of, oh, Temba's failed. And I mean, at that time, I mean, I matriculated, name came out in the paper, 2 or 3 distinctions. So there was nothing like that, you know. Teachers as well having a go at you, you know, why. Post-matric wasn't a thing at St. David, so they kind of,
Oh, right.
you know,
So they didn't know about it.
Yeah, so they were like, yeah, why is thousands being wasted on him? You can give it to someone else, you know, all of those type of things. And these are...
Oh, as in the scholarship?
Yeah, so it was a scholarship,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, the first 3 months was literally that every day. You get there every day, you're standing in line, there's a young guy, he's laughing at you, you get into class, and it's like constantly January, February, March. By April, it was like you weren't fazed about it, you know.
It could have broken you, though. I mean,
Could have.
There are stories
Could
like
have.
that's something because for some people, I mean, you speak about it now and you're cool and everything, but for some people, they don't last the 3 months. I'm sure you know examples of like kids that, young guys that will change school because of that, young guys that will stop a sport because there is that, you know, people ganging up against them or just continually going at them. So how did you overcome, or why do you feel that you kind of overcame that?
I mean, you find ways to escape it, right? So I would try to get to school early, go to the nets, because you get there early to school, you don't have to interact with anyone. And you come back, maybe just, you know that the ball, you have to be in line at 7:30. I'd maybe get there 20 to 8 because now I'm late, you know, it's just me, yes, I'm signing in, and then you go straight to class. After school, you go into the nets, and you're just working on your game, you know, so you kind of find ways around it, you know, and that's your way of kind of just conditioning your mind and being like, well, okay, that's what they think, that's good for them, but this is what I want to achieve, and I'm gonna give everything to that. Even when I started playing first class cricket, playing here at the Wanderers, the guys would be like, nah, he's not gonna be able to deal with the pace and the bounce here at the Wanderers. It's too short, all of that. I'm like, okay, cool.
And what, just murmurs or overtly said to you, or
there'll be murmurs. It'll be said to, I mean, it'll be spoken about as amongst other players, and then maybe a player would hear it to be like, hey, someone said this about you, type of thing. So I think my mind was just conditioned. You know, you get into the Proteas, then it's like, oh no, you're not there because of how you're good enough. Like, oh, okay, cool. but this is what I want to
Yeah.
achieve, you know. So I think, yeah, that's my experiences, you know, the hardships of Langa, of environments of that kind. There is that advantage of you being able to deal with certain challenges in a stoic way, you know, in a way where you're not, every time you're on the podcast, you're complaining about, I don't know why I wasn't selected, or I don't know why I'm not part of a T20 competition. You know,
Yeah.
you deal with it internally, but you know, you deal with it with a certain level of grace. You know, but the whole calm thing, and I think the more and more you're in pressure moments.
Yeah.
You know, I think about from a captaincy point of view, you go to England, you go to India, it's a test series. There's not a lot bigger than that, you know. I mean, you can easily get drawn into all these side shows, you know, all these conversations. It doesn't help the coach goes and makes the comments, and then you get drawn
I'm sure
into
you'd
that.
have had interesting conversations about that and about the supposed insult and whatever, and yet kind of able to still focus, right?
Yeah, at some point you gotta draw the line to, okay, that's the issue. This is where I'm at. You looking at it, but it's not for you to kind of get in, you know. So yeah, it's not intentional, the whole calmness. Maybe my approach to doing things, how I deal with pressure, and it's again speaking to what I think has also helped is speaking to other leaders within the corporates and how they deal with issues, because leadership is leadership, you know. We just in the field view of everyone out in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Should I tell you where it struck me?
Where?
T20 World Cup in
T20 World Cup. Which one?
Dubai.
Dubai, okay. The cock.
Yeah,
Quinton.
when I came to the toss. And yeah, you probably don't remember, because it's just for you it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
But there are moments, you know, where and I've gone, what? And then walk up to you and speak to you, and you just speak about it like nothing's actually happening.
There's a lot happening. Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot happening, and I'm going, you must have more like that. You must have more about that, right? I think it rankled me more than it rankled you, you know.
I think there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there always is, but yeah, very interesting. I found that as one. I think the end of that tournament was also one where you guys hadn't made it through run rate or something, but you kind of just stood there. India now just gone by, same sort of story where they're also in the time you weren't captain, where there's all this talk, and I wonder how much of it you hear and see. And the one thing I know is that you can't shut it out. It's impossible. I said the internet was the greatest invention, but it's also a blessing and a curse sort of thing, right? Because nothing is secret, right? So, and despite all of that, you're able to kind of go, like you just did now, that's over there, not for me to sort of get involved, and you just carry on. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. It sounds like a life of adversity, though. How much do you enjoy where you are as a professional cricketer, having wanted to be one, as an international elite batter? And I know someone go, no, elite batters are Virat. No. Hear this out, that as soon as we have international players, already it's elite, right? And if we're talking about stuff of dreams, the guys who are internationals have somewhat got to the point of where they have a dream realized, right? There might be further dreams from there, but just to don the colors of your country, and particularly, I say this because in a South African context, it might mean even more. You know what I mean? Just because of obstacles as a young black guy, even from the time you were young, which is not long ago, it still might have seemed unattainable, that sort of thing. So with all of this adversity and everything else and tough, see this, see that, experience this, and there's everyone on Temba's back, how much of it is an enjoyment? How do you get to enjoy it?
It's not all fun for me. Yeah, it's not all fun. It's at times it can feel burdensome. And at times you kind of ask yourself, why do you have to kind of carry all of this, you know? And I think like I mean the birth of my son, you know, that's been the best thing to have ever happened. And that's where like I throw a lot of my energy and focus on. You know, I was never a social media person, but you know, I'm always posting him type of thing. And for me, it's like, that's what's important. Yes, cricket is there, and what comes with cricket, it's good. It's given me the life that I have. I enjoy the privileges of life because of cricket, and I'll always be grateful for it. But because there's that element of things not being fun linked to cricket, I've always, not always, but you find other avenues where you can kind of escape. And I mean, I don't want to call my son an escape, but like, you know, there's nothing better than that. Why do I play golf a lot? That's also a part of it, where you're on the course for 4.5, 5 hours. You're not thinking about cricket. You're trying to deal with this ball that's not moving, you know, and that's just a way of just trying to collaborate that sense of peace and sanity amongst within me, you know, internally. But I mean, at some point, I'm still a cricketer. I have to go back into that space again. You're gonna have to deal with the pressure that comes with that. And I mean, it's a daily thing. You know, you're waking up in the morning. I like to journal a lot, so
All right.
you know, I write
Didn't know
down.
that.
Yeah. Don't read a lot, but I like to journal a lot.
That's interesting.
And that's my way of just kind of clearing my mind, you know, dealing with issues that are there in my mind. I enjoy a bit of meditating as well. You just kind of sit in silence with your own thoughts. But those are like daily things, you know, daily things to kind of keep you sane.
Okay.
You know, and I think leadership as well. What I've learned, it's unrewarding, you know, and it's lonely. It's a lonely space that you find yourself in. So that you gotta make peace with very quickly. I don't think when the team wins, you're gonna be the one. No, it doesn't work like that. When the team loses, you're gonna be the one that has to speak. When the team wins, you know, that's my experience of it all. But yeah, leadership is it's a lonely space.
Okay. Who are your best friends in cricket?
Best friends in cricket, KG, Rabada, yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I got a lot of friends. I mean, you ask best friends, right?
Yeah, and you've named one and stopped. I love that. What?
I thought you were going to ask for other. I thought you wanted more.
I don't know. If there's more, you would give me more, but if there isn't, you won't, right?
I get along with a lot of the guys.
But
Someone who we spend time outside of cricket a lot would be him.
Would be KG?
Yeah.
Okay. You just hit it off?
Yeah, we just got along.
Because
he joined the
Lions.
Lions.
A gap. Your gap is like 4 or 5 years,
4
right?
or 5 years, yeah. When he joined the Lions, I was here with the Lions. We're playing a T20 warm-up game. He came here in his school uniform. Pommie, several bounces. You know, we had a little bit of an altercation, and then from then we just got along. He was my best man, one of my best men. Groomsmen at the wedding. I think we share a similar outlook on life. We've always gotten along.
Okay. And I'm very careful not to say you don't say a lot, as in speak a whole lot, because I kind of think you do, and I don't know, and I guess I'm asking. I think the same of KG. both of you can have this persona that we see that is on the field, where not much is said. In the doing of cricket, you internalize it and you think a lot whilst you're kind of always strategizing and trying to focus, right? And you then come across as quiet guys. You might have a quiet manner, but I tend to think that both of you, without being rude, I think you probably are yappers. I learned that word the other day.
Yapper.
Do you know what the word yapper means? Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, someone who talks a lot.
Oh, yeah. So not in the change room. I don't mean in the change room. It might happen in the change room as well, but I just mean in a space where you're comfortable and you're sitting. So if you and KG are sitting together, you both talking a lot, or no?
Yeah, it depends what the topic is. With cricket, yeah, I probably don't say a lot. I'll confess on that. I think the speaking is more through your actions, and I find anyone can speak, right? But just be clear with what you say. And for me, if I say it once, if I want to make a point, I'll kind of stress on that same point, not say 5 different things. Then you kind of lose people, and maybe that's why there's not a lot of speaking from you. Where you generally want to just hone in on 2 or 3 points. Yeah,
the thing.
I'm a sociable person. I like music events, DJ a little bit, like going out. So, there's definitely that yappiness there, about me. And like I said, we share the same type of interest. If I take someone like a Shamsi, he's on the other end. Shamsi is always
talking.
If there was a picture of a yapper in the dictionary, it would be him.
Okay.
So I'm definitely not a Shamsi, but I'll speak when I need to, when I feel I need to.
Okay, fire some things that you hear. Your most special innings.
My most special
innings that you've played internationally, I guess, is what I'm asking. Which one sits in your head?
Yeah, it would have to be just debut 100.
Yeah?
Yeah, Newlands. Because it's Newlands. Grew up there in Newlands. Situation of the game where a little bit on the balance.
It's also your first one. Yeah.
And it'd be my first one.
Yeah, Your best 100. International 100. I'm across the formats, I suppose. And I suppose if you want to separate those.
West Indies, ODI, East London.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was not too long ago, 2023.
Remember that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do outside of cricket?
I do a lot of things that don't have to do with cricket. I don't come to the stadium much. Go foundational work. I get involved in that within the foundation. Traveling, I enjoy traveling.
I saw you. Did you? I spotted you at the airport, and after I said hi and whatever, and you left without bags. Actually, did you have bags? Yeah.
When was this?
I can't remember when. I don't know where I was coming from, but I was coming from somewhere. And then only after you walked off, it struck me that, hold on, why is he coming from there?
Last week I was in Cape Town for the day.
No, it was an international flight. We came off an international flight. You came into the airport, walked along. A few people wanted photos, as they do, and you waited by the bags. And they said, yeah, I'd take a photo here. I said, hey, how's it, Temba? How are you doing? Well, what's happening? Yeah, I'm cool. Where are you coming from? And if I remember right, you might have said Italy. Italy? Did you go to Italy recently?
Yeah, I went last year,
Yeah?
But I would have had a bag. Would have had a luggage.
Maybe it came out very quickly.
Yeah, I would have had a luggage bag.
Yeah, and off you went. I went, what? Why did you go to Italy?
For holiday. I went to No, I'm lying. It was to watch the UEFA semi-final.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was PSG. Can't remember against who. That was fun.
Milan, maybe?
Could have been.
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah, but I enjoy traveling, watching sporting events, like the UEFA, spending time with family. A lot of the family is in Cape Town, so I try to go and see everyone there in Langa when I can.
Okay. How would you want to be remembered? People ask this of people who are done, but I know you're not done. But if you could script that, or what would you want to be remembered for, as one question with how you would want to be remembered? Do you have that in your head at all?
I think I'm still trying to formulate that. Yeah, I think I'm still trying to formulate what that looks like. And maybe in a way, I have started speaking to it. Like I think about the mindset shift that I made when I realized that it would be hard for me to get to 10,000 test runs, but from a leader point of view, I'd like to do something that hasn't been done within that space. So, there's still that opportunity. There is the achievement of last year, which I think speaks to that. But yeah, I think I'm still trying to find what that story looks like.
Do you and the other international captains get on, speak beyond sort of when you come to play against each other?
I think from my side, not really. For what reason, I'm not too sure.
You just haven't hit it off.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something to that where, I guess that interaction, like maybe the guys would interact. Maybe the guys were more within the T20 space and playing the different teams. That interaction. I was invited to the SEAT Awards in India last year, and there I got to interact with Kane Williamson. We traveled from the event to the airport. We got a good hour and a half, 2 hours of chatting. Super intelligent guy, at least about the game. Met Roy as well, interacted with him for a bit. So yeah, maybe in my space not as much because I'm not so exposed to the guys. I'm sure maybe amongst them there's a lot more of that interaction.
Final question is about the conquering of India and how important, how significant, how that felt just as your group. And I'll throw in satisfaction from a perspective of many, not necessarily in India, but even around the world, kind of challenging the notion of you are world test champions, and those who were challenging why you had got there in the first place, to turn up in India and beat them 2-0 in the test series. Or am I conflating things and kind of putting things together that shouldn't be? Do you think about it differently? What did all of that feel like?
There's definitely a satisfaction that comes with defying the odds, going against the expectation or belief out there. I don't believe people, again, would have seen us winning 2-0 in India, like they didn't see us being victorious at Lord's. So there's definitely a satisfaction in that. And I mean, it's a big feather in my cap, that I walk around with. I know from a playing point of view that playing in India is hard, and it will continue being hard, especially in the test format. So, that's a big badge of honor for all those guys who are part of that team, to do what they did. And like you said, it speaks to the title that we have as a team. You know that we world champions. We weren't gifted that title. It wasn't a result of it being a easy, journey to that. We beat whoever was in front of us. And I think for us as a team, one of the things that speaking to the guys about was how do we move with the title of being world champions? Does it change us as a team? Do we run away from that pressure or expectation? But whatever we do, we got to carry that title, and think and play like we world champions. The same way that we've been doing leading up to that point. And that's the other level of satisfaction when the things that you say show up in the results. As a leader, that gives you a great deal of confidence to know that you can say something and guys are there to back it up. That gives you a great deal of confidence as a leader. But that India series, I think it was 25 years since we last won there in India. I don't think one should look at it lightly. That's big for that team.
Okay, fantastic. We could go on and on. I don't want to. Some of the things I want to talk about, I want us to be able to say we talk about stuff that's not on camera. But I must congratulate you on a fantastic career. I don't choose fantastic lightly, because I know some things and can only imagine other things in terms of the difficulty of the journey. And I don't do this because your career is done now. You've still got some long way to go. And I wish you well. I congratulate you also on being an example to others, and perhaps even one that you wanted as a youngster. So that's not easy to do. So thanks for chatting to me as well.
Thank you, Pommie.
He finally agreed to chat with me, and
Thank you.
this is what happens when he does. Hope you enjoyed that as well.
Thanks, Pommie.